Hello and welcome to the High Altitude Investing live stream. Today is the Craving Crypto podcast episode 5, and we're just going to be talking about the new low in the markets, and this is a live stream edition of the Craving Crypto podcast. So we're going to take technical analysis requests on different altcoins towards the end. I'm going to be talking about how the crypto markets made a new low, my thoughts on that, and just like basically the normal live streams, but this one is part of the Craving Crypto podcast. This is just because we're doing 3 videos a week now, so I have a little bit more diversity. I can talk about different things. I can still do my TAs and kind of just make it give a little bit of something for everybody. You know, the people that want to hear my opinions on the news and the people that want to hear my opinions on the technical aspects. And then again, like me teaching you stuff about like trading fake money, like my episode yesterday. Go check it out if you haven't. It's called Trading with 1 Million Fake Dollars, where I basically show you how you can set up an account and get trading around with, you know, fake crypto money on the market so that you can test your skills and get the hang of everything. But let's just see everybody tuning in today. Good afternoon. Welcome, Jeffrey. Welcome, Adam. Good to see you guys tuning in. I'm about 5 minutes late getting going here, so I apologize for that. I was just getting my microphone set up and everything working good for the stream so that we don't have any lag or issues with the audio quality and things of that nature. But as we pick up in viewers here, pretty soon we'll get into the technical aspects of the market. Might as well drop coin market cap down. So Bitcoin Cash right now, actually, as we speak, is seeing a 4% pump, which is kind of interesting because it was one of the hardest crashing just yesterday in my Craving Crypto podcast. And yeah, so it's bouncing today. To see that it's kind of crazy. But that's, you know, when something's really oversold like that, if something has a lot of selling off and it's one of the lowest in the entire, you know, top 20, then it's likely to bounce harder too, because that panic is getting eaten up and people see that as an opportunity to go ahead and buy some of that. So awesome. Looks like we got about 28 people in so far. You guys can always ask questions in the top chat right here, and I will answer them as we go. But we'll just start talking about some technical analysis on Bitcoin now that we have enough people to get going here. So, but yeah, happy Friday, by the way. Friday's a nice day. It's a nice day because you know that the weekend's coming soon, and then you can relax and watch some TV. The American way. Just kidding. I actually don't really watch that much television. I spend most of my time on my computer or going on a walk, or I actually go to the gym quite a bit too in the mornings, or like meditating, going out and trying new things. I went to a casino one time, first time ever. I know it sounds crazy. That was pretty cool though, experiencing that. All right, so Bitcoin, the mothership here, has been selling off over the last few days, and really the past week we've had quite a bit of a sell-off from $7,600 down to the $5,800 levels, which, you know, it made a new low in the relative consolidation range right here. But really, because of the fact that this has closed above the previous low in the bigger time frames, such as the 2-day, we're closing above these lows with wicks. You know, it is a breakdown to a new low, but technically this could bounce up right here and see a little bit of a bull trap, or even a bounce and reversal right here pretty easily, just because of the fact that this hasn't really had much of a bull trap on the way down. I mean, if you compare the 2014 fractal to what's going on today, which I know a lot of people like to do, especially like on Twitter and stuff, or TradingView, they always take the 2014 fractal. And what's interesting here is you have this squeeze, so you have a sell-off, then you have another squeeze, and then you have this huge bull trap that happens. Okay, a lot of buying comes back into the market before it sees more selling off. And, you know, if you apply that same theory to what's going on today, and come and look over. Even if we did go in for more lows, Bitcoin really hasn't had much of a bull trap yet. I'll show you. I mean, yeah, there was, the bounce up to 11,000. Hold on. This is a bit laggy here. Oops. Okay, yeah, this is very laggy. What's going on? Hold on. Let me close out of some stuff here. Sorry about this. Hold on. I'm getting a little bit of lag in my stream. Let me make sure. Let's see, we got people calling for 54, 55, 52. I mean, the real thing is nobody knows exactly where the reversal is going to happen, like what dollar it's at. I mean, if somebody did know that, that's $1 million question, right? Is where is the exact dollar number that it's going to reverse at? And to be honest with you, like trying to find that number is not the correct way to trade. Like, it's not about finding the exact point that the market flips at. It's about being aware of the cycle and then buying in, averaging in. Don't go all in at once. If you've got Tether, just take little bits and buy little bits. Be very careful with when you go in and ladder into your positions. But just trying to find the exact dollar price will just really screw you, especially if you're new to this and you're just trying to figure out, okay, I want to know where I can start going long again. That's not the way to do it. If you average into a position in times of high panic, it doesn't matter if it keeps going lower or if it flips around right now, because you've already bought little bits along the way down. And when it starts trending up in a clear direction, you can even ladder into the dips on a bull trend. And, it's just much more effective to think big picture and play the big cycles rather than trying to figure out the exact dollar that you're going to see something turn around at, or worrying about that. It can actually slow you down quite a bit. So, all right. So Bitcoin here has been painting the exact same picture as the Wall Street cheat sheet. And again, comparing that fractal to the 2014 fractal, even if we did continue a bear trend, it's very likely that we need to go up and make another type of bull trap. Or what I expect to be more probable is whenever we do find a reversal point down here on the short term, we'll bounce up and it will be in such an obvious zone to start accumulating again. I think that we won't see more lows whenever we do find our bottom here in this sell-off. I don't see us going back down and seeing a further correction, although some people, would probably disagree with me on that. And anything's possible, but either way, we're expecting this reversal here due to the oversold conditions. And once we get that buying pressure back up on the upside here, it's going to be a nice spot to average out a little bit and then accumulate on any type of a sell-off, because we do have quite a bit of resistance here. So when we do get bouncing up and we're in a buying mode again for crypto and Bitcoin, it's going to hit resistance. It'll have little sell-offs, so you can take profits along the way and average back into your position and play the swings. You don't have to worry about holding all of your position through every single swing and every single up and bounce. It's better to play the swings a little bit, average in, average out. And once we do get into a bull trap zone, you might want to take some of your profits off the table and get ready to accumulate, because it always has resistance. It has to have retests. But that's all a lot down the road. Currently, as far as like a technical perspective of the price for Bitcoin, we're in a very clear falling wedge pattern. Especially if you kind of eliminate this wick right here and consider it to be panic, then you can see Bitcoin is following this pattern very nicely. 1, 2, 3. And like I said, it could go in for lower right now. We might bounce up at current price. The game isn't guessing exactly where the bottom is. The game is understanding the way that these legs move so that you can play the swings and that you can accumulate for the big moves, especially whenever we do get a breakout of this wedge, whatever price that is, it's going to move the height of the wedge so you can measure the height and then drop it on top of the point that it breaks out of. And that's your first target. So, you know, whether this goes up right now and then we have to place this target right here, which would take us to, if it started to break out like within the next few weeks of this falling wedge pattern, it would take us basically right to 14,000 per coin again. I mean, it wouldn't be instantly, but that's your target of the falling wedge. Now, if it takes a little bit longer, if we see lower lows and it consolidates further into this range, then we might see it bounce, you know, closer to these sub-support levels. And if it does go and do that instead, then you're talking about your first target being, you know, back up to where we were before right here at about 11,000 in resistance. So it's just whatever point that this actually decides to turn around and bull break out of is your first area to drop that line that you measured from the top to the bottom of the wedge to get your targets. So, but that's how I'm looking at Bitcoin currently. That's the most likely perspective. This is also considered to be a WXY correction, but that's a little bit more complicated Elliott wave theory. So if you want to learn more about that, Google has information, my website has information, my mastermind talks more about complicated corrections, but this is an example of a WXY correction. You could get into the subwaves here, but basically it's ABC down, then you have ABC up, which is an expanded flat, and then you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up, and then ABC, and this turns into a triangle ABCDE subwave right here. But yeah, so and again, this Y, I'm drawing this Y right here, but I'm not saying that we're going to dump that far. I'm just saying that you don't know exactly where this Y ends, so I was just placing it there. And then when we do see the actual bullish candle come in, which could happen at any point, this is following the Wall Street cheat sheet perfectly, so I'm expecting it to be pretty soon, honestly. Either way, when this does have a green candle and we have a confirmed short-term reversal, that's where you will place the Y of this WXY correction. But yeah, so I'm not full bear right now. I'm not saying that we're going to see 3,000 per coin or 1,000 per coin. I know some people are already trying to make those targets, and I just think it's not really like logical conclusion to expect a panic that hard out of this move, and we don't really have the market structure to make it look like we do that. This to me looks a lot more like curving and rounded type of patterns, or accumulations that might turn into cup and handle type patterns. So if we take right here and we just do an arced curve, so remember, a market cycle is like a sine wave. So that's why markets move in circles and impulses ups and down, and they move in these circular channels like this often. And it's because it's a sine wave. A market cycle is, you know, if you know anything about basic audio production, which was another little side hobby of mine, by the way, for people that don't know, then you can get a sine wave pattern. And a sine wave is the most basic, like, low bass frequency. Like if you hear a subwoofer, like boo, 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 that sound is a sine wave, and it just looks like this. It's just an oscillation pattern, okay? This is the way that market cycles move. They oscillate at a very specific rate. And for me, what's happening in Bitcoin today is we had a big bull run right here. This is an oscillation up. Very big bull run. And then now we're having that sine wave, right? We're coming back down on the other side. and we're curling, and I expect to curl back up, and I expect the bull market to return in full force when we do curl back up. But that's what's happening to Bitcoin. And you can complicate it. You can try to name a million different things that can happen. You can try to confuse yourself with a trillion charts. But at the end of the day, if you just understand that a market cycle goes up and down and up and down, and then you try to find where it starts curving up and where it starts curving down, you don't really need to know that much. You just accumulate panic, get out of greed, play these sine waves. They shoot up, they pull down. It's very cyclical. And what's interesting is people get so confused here at the bottom right here when they're so mad. They're like, and I understand. I really do. I have played these cycles for a long time. I've been through losses. I've been through a lot of gains, but there's been days where when I was, especially at the beginning of all of this, it's just you would feel very discouraged. And it was just so much to learn, and then these cycles would happen, and if you're a beginner, you might get stuck on the wrong end of it, and you might get up here at the top of the sine wave when everybody's talking about Bitcoin, and then you might have to ride it down. You might have to panic a little bit and learn from your mistakes, watch your portfolio drop when you don't want it to, and then have to figure out how to play this next move. But keeping your head in the game and keeping your head on straight, and not letting that cycle make you, completely run from crypto or completely give up on learning it, will reward you in the long term. And I promise you that. It's just it's a very consistent thing if you allow yourself to step back and learn something and make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. And then if you allow yourself to continue doing time, it's just time plus learning, equals growth. And there'll be a curve for it, depending on where you are, a beginner. Maybe you're been doing this for a little while, you're more intermediate, or maybe you're highly advanced. Either way, you've always got things you can learn. And either way, it's just a learning process, just like learning an instrument, And my mom, she made my family, every single kid in my family, has to learn piano at the age of 8 years old. And it was, when at 8 years old, you're you want to learn piano, so you're excited about it, so you get really hyped, and then you start trying to learn it, and you realize that life is kind of hard, and piano is actually ridiculously difficult to learn. And your mom's sitting there telling you every single day, well, you got to learn this if you want to get good at this. Then we need to have discipline, and you need to, wow, we're actually pumping right now, you guys. Oh my gosh. Every single alert that I have is going off. Anyways, my mom would just sit there and she'd be like, you have to do this. You have to do this 1 hour a day. Here's your books. Do this. And some days I just hated it. I would get so mad at her. And it was always such a big struggle. But I'm so thankful that she taught me discipline and the ability to learn and love learning and go through some struggles, and then also go through some amazing experiences, because you don't have to only learn from the struggles. You can learn from the gains too. In fact, struggles are just as important as winning. If you can get those two in line with each other and have struggles and then have gains, but focus on making more gains than struggles, it's all just part of the cycle, the life cycle and the learning cycle, and it's all applied, So don't be scared to learn something. Learn to love learning, learn to be okay with feeling a little down on yourself, or that you have to push yourself a little bit harder and try to learn more and apply it better, and have a good attitude while you do, because it isn't easy to do really anything that has really, really beneficial results. Otherwise, everybody would do it. You have to be a little bit different. You have to decide that you're going to do the thing that other people would be giving up on, or other people would be stuck on, and allow themselves to stop doing what they want to do. Even though deep down they really want to do it, they just let something get in the way because, you know, they're too lazy, or they get discouraged, or they get scared of success, or they get scared of where they want to go in their life. And it's okay, and especially if you felt that way, it's okay. It's just how people are. But if you're aware of it, and then you just focus on learning and not let those things keep getting you stuck up, then it's really amazing what can happen. You know, your life can go parabolic in a sense, and you'll get a lot of rewards and benefits from that type of thinking. So being a good trader isn't all just about, you know, learning all of these technical things, or like, in fact, a lot of it isn't that. A lot of it's just being able to self-discipline and being able to love the ride and enjoy the pain and enjoy the hype, enjoy the bull markets, enjoy the bear markets. Like, just be in it for the long haul and enjoy it while you do, and learn from it when you can. And that's like the mindset that you have to have. It's not necessarily like you need to be the biggest genius in the world, or know the most math, or know you know, or be the best Elliott wave counter. Like, literally, you can have the most basic knowledge, you know, apply a sine wave to a chart, buy panic, accumulate panic, average out of greed, and then like you're good. And you don't have to know all of those technical things. You just have to be able to be okay with making mistakes sometimes, and then making the right decisions, and then learning from both of them. So anyway, so yeah, this sine wave, this cycle looks really good for Bitcoin. I'm bullish, you guys. And let's check in the smaller time frame, because it looks like we're getting a little bit of an exciting pump during our live stream. Oh yeah, that's actually pretty nice to see that. So we just did a successful double bottom formation in Bitcoin. So literally, since we started this stream, we pumped like $300 or $200. Let me just pull down here and do a little TA on the short time frame for you guys. I have just been, you know, preaching that this is a bull trend that has a lot of panic to accumulate right now. And for people that are wondering if this is going to turn around, and that this is going to really become a bull market and become a profitable thing to have your money in, then I'm here to tell you that that's happening soon, you guys. There's all the signs of it. Like, learn what you need to about TA, and then apply it, and you'll start to see what I see. So yeah, this is a breakout of a falling wedge pattern that we have been forming since the beginning of June, really. We made this little panic sell-off right here, where we had formed this head and shoulders pattern. We had one left shoulder here, one head right here, and one right shoulder right here. And in this right shoulder, interestingly enough, if you look really close inside that right shoulder, there's actually another head and shoulders pattern. So you have a left head, a head right here, and then a right shoulder. And you can see how even inside of the head and shoulders, there's a mini one inside of the right shoulder. And then you have this sell-off right here. You made another little falling wedge pattern right here, which I posted on my Twitter. And then we saw like an 8% bounce upwards after that falling wedge pattern was made. And we found some resistance here. Again, that completed another sell-off, which allowed us to draw this bigger falling wedge pattern from the top to the bottom. And now that we've had a clear breakout and double bottom of this falling wedge pattern, it wouldn't surprise me if on the very short time frame we have a little bit of panic in like the 5-minute candlesticks back down to 6,100, because usually out of a breakout you have a retracement back into the point where it breaks out of. And then now that we do have that breakout of the falling wedge pattern, we can measure the height from this point to the bottom, and place it at the point of breakout. And your first target for this pattern is 72.60. So we can just write this down right here, put a dollar mark, 72.60. So yeah, that's how you play those falling wedges, and I'm expecting this to definitely break upwards and start to head towards these resistance levels that we previously broke below. They used to be support and now they are resistance, so I'm expecting those levels to be reached out of this bull break here. It's just been this consolidation pattern. It shook everybody out. When we made that new low, it made everybody get so scared. You have to think in terms of shakeouts, right? If a bunch of people had their stop loss right here at $7,800 or $7,080 because they were all expecting that triangle to go bullish, which it totally could have. It was there's lots of ways that this market can move, so it wasn't bad to be drawing that triangle pattern up here that everybody was. But when we broke below that support and it had a clear panic, everybody is going to go short, and then everybody on Twitter starts being bearish all the way down to 3,000 or 4,000, and they start calling very, very deep targets, right? They're getting excited, they're getting short sell trigger happy. So you have to think of all these people that are instantly bearish and having huge short positions on. And then, of course, right at a new low, when we break below support, it's going to have to retrace back up, meaning it's going to have to pump back up into that resistance area and shake out everybody that thought we were going to 3,000 and 4,000 right here because we made that new low. So everybody that just went short needs to get basically shaken out. And that's just how markets work. You have to think in terms of, okay, what's going to happen to, these people, but what's going to happen on the other side of this screen, right? On the other side of this screen, what are the majority doing with their money right now? Because you want to be doing the opposite thing of what the majority is doing. And right here in the sell-off, the majority of people were selling. You had a new low in the total market cap. You had a new low in the triangle pattern that everybody was drawing. Everybody started to get super scared, and then we made a new low even past this point. So everybody thought, okay, maybe we'll double bottom right here, and then we made another low past the low that we made in February, and that scared even everybody else back out of the market. So right here you have to think, okay, what's happening right here at 5774? That's when too many people think that we're going lower. That's when too many people went all in 100x leverage short positions, right? They're making bad trading decisions right there. So it has to shake those people out. And yeah, I've been accumulating this in the smaller time frames on some leveraged trading websites. So when I'm live streaming here and I see this breakout, it definitely puts a smile on my face because I've been accumulating this panic. And I was aware of what's happening here in the smaller time frames. And, if you're part of my VIP, I don't want to give exact signals or targets or anything, but I mentioned a possibility of this move. So that was in the signals area. For VIP members, you can go check into that and you'll see the exact signals and prices that I expect this to go to. But for free viewers, I'm just giving you the falling wedge target right here. It's just a little bit, just to give you okay, here's the next little road down or little path down the road. So I don't want to give you the full path, but I can give you a little piece of the story basically for the free viewers. So yeah, this looks really good right now, honestly. Now we can check into some of the other coins. Let's check the live dashboard, make sure everybody's following along. Yes, Justin, I short the markets on the way down and have made good money. A little bit day trading too. I've been practicing. I've been thinking about making a course on that down the road just because I mainly teach the bigger time frame stuff. But it's we'll see about that one, possibly. Yes, I have considered streaming on Twitch actually multiple times. That might be a thing down the road too, no promises, but I have been considering it. So but yeah, and then the other thing that happened, and I posted on my Twitter about this, you guys, because it was just too obvious. So do you remember when CNBC Fast Money was super, super bullish at the top of the market, and they told everybody to buy Ripple at like $3, and they had a little class like, hey, this is, they're like, hey, this is how you buy Ripple, and they made like a little video segment about it. That was all right here at the top of the market, okay? When Ripple was, I don't remember the exact price, but it was probably in between the range of $3 and $2. They started telling everybody to buy, okay? Right here. They're like, here, buy this, it's going to go really high, you know? And then Ripple, of course, just dumps, and then they made a video on how to sell Ripple. And this panic right here, CNBC Fast Money did this, a video on how to sell Ripple, and then it bounced all the way back up, and then yeah, it sold off a little bit further from there. But now, just the other day, and like I said, I tweeted about this just the other day, this guy is bullish. Hold on, not bullish, bearish. Let me go to my Twitter here. This guy right here is bearish on Bitcoin, and the last time that this guy was bullish, everything dumped in the bigger pictures. And so I was just like, this is too obvious. That he literally told people to short the markets in this video. If you go watch this, he's like, yeah, you could take short positions here. And when I watched this, I was laughing so hard. I was like, if CNBC Fast Money is bearish, I would be very weary of shorting down here. This is the same people that advise to buy XRP at the top and sell at bottom. So, you know, it's just like, it's especially if the news starts coming out and they start telling you to do something like short, like you really should be taking your profits on your short positions and going long right there, because this is obviously, Ripple right here is obviously in a huge falling wedge pattern, and it has been since it made this new low, just falling wedge, which is a bullish pattern. You always have a nice breakout of these, which turns into a lot of FOMO usually out of these patterns. And there's just too many things lining up right here for this to be further selling off. You know, too much panic, too many things lining up perfectly. So let's get some altcoin requests. Let's do some TA on altcoins. I control Bitcoin. No, I don't control Bitcoin cryptocurrency. Just kidding. I actually might. It's a secret as to whether I do or not. Okay, LTC. This is Qualcomm. So I'm just going to show you how Qualcomm is the same as Litecoin. So Qualcomm pumped really hard right here back in the 1990s, and between 1990s and 2003 we had this full market cycle that formed. It just had this nice little accumulation zone, and then it popped out really hard and made a bull trap right here. This bull trap dropped about 47%, and then from the secondary top we dropped another 87% in value. And when it did that, it made this falling wedge pattern right here, and has since broken out of this falling wedge pattern and continued to see upside growth and upside movement since it made this pattern. So Qualcomm is a stock if you're not following along with that. Let me just zoom in a little bit here, because for some reason my internet browser says that I'm zoomed to 75% out. Okay, well, what happened here? All right, yeah, there we go. So yeah, this was Qualcomm. This pump and then this dump with a falling wedge. 47% bull trap, 87% complete market cycle. Now let's go over to Litecoin and talk about why it is doing. I actually need to zoom out one thing. That's too close here. How Litecoin is doing the same thing that Qualcomm did in the internet bubble. And why it's still bullish even though everybody is scared out of their minds selling. All right, so oh, come on. I hate it when this thing slows down. Okay, here we go. So we have all these resistance levels right here. We have all of this panic right here. We have a drop from the top down to right here, producing a 49% bull trap. From the very top down to the current bottom that we're at, we have about an 80% drop in market value. Right here, we have an accumulation zone that is this nice little channel upwards like this. And now if we project that this does the same thing that Qualcomm did in the internet bubble, this just does it faster because it is crypto. So crypto years are shorter than stock years, meaning that crypto is more exciting for traders. Then you're talking about something like this to happen in the reversal. And comparing the two, you'll see why I expect that. Again, Qualcomm right here. This accumulation up pattern right here going up, and then you have this bull trap 47% drop, then you have an 87% drop down into this falling wedge, and that's when the bull market returns. One more time on Litecoin, you have this accumulation pattern up, you have this resistance met, 49% drop, 80% drop down, and we are expecting that reversal to happen. And again, this could go a little bit lower, but I really don't see that happening now that everything's breaking out of their falling wedges on the smaller time frame. I don't see too much downside currently, you guys. Just to be frank with you, there's a pretty low probability of downside for at least a few weeks. So yeah, that is looking very similar to that. Now let's go into the next requested TA. Okay, we will do EOS and OMG. Yeah, poor people watching CNBC. Well, honestly, not really. If you're a TA, if you're a technical analyst and you watch CNBC Fast Money, you just laugh and then you go load up on your long positions. But if you're like general public watching it, then yeah, it might have been a bit of a disappointment for you because they're just telling everybody to do exactly what you shouldn't do all the time. So they're a good counter indicator, by the way. So that was a falling wedge breakout, and then now we are in a downward channel. So these wicks right here, you can kind of ignore the majority of them because they're just high volatility wicks. This is kind of a falling wedge pattern as well for OMG. It's actually a really big one too. Has a big target if it decides to play out. But this is basically bounce here, bounce here, bounce here, and the potential for the breakout occurring. And then if you measure the pattern target, if this one happens, you're talking about a really, really nice impulse. Let's just say it happens over here later on in the year. You're talking about a $26 OMG, so a pretty big pump right here. And that's just the first target out of the wedge, right? So Okay, deleting that. So yeah, OMG is in a very similar consolidation pattern to other coins in the market. These falling wedges are indicative of sellers getting squeezed, meaning that there's less and less sellers, a smaller body of sellers as the price continues. You can also see the same fractal of the falling wedge right here. So it's just these wedges, or sometimes you get a wedge inside of a wedge like this, and that's just another good signal that it's time to buy, because a bunch of sellers are getting squeezed into a small point where it needs to bounce upwards and have some type of retracement on the upside. Even if it goes back down again, it's in this consolidation range and needs to shift out some sellers. Pedro, we did Bitcoin at the beginning of this stream, so now we're just going over other coins that are highly requested, but this is going to be uploaded later, like literally an hour after I do these streams. They're available for viewing. If you want to watch my TA on Bitcoin, you can check that out at the beginning. It was very short and simple and sweet. I just talk about sine waves and how it's directly applied to Bitcoin currently. Yes, I can do ETC. This was actually a free signal on my Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter at highaltitudeinv, then you can check out my TA on ETC with exact buy zone and sell zones created. But basically, this is a fall onto support levels. So here's our support and resistance zones. Then we can take this and we can remove those. And we just take our same little line tool right here and we just draw these tops together, meeting these tops, ignoring the wicks. And you start to very, very easily see the secret pattern hidden within the craziness, which is a triangle pattern. This specific one being a falling wedge pattern, again, because the height and the upper trending resistance line is angled down, and same with the lower trending support line. That's how you identify if a pattern is a falling wedge pattern or not. If it's going like this, where the upper trend line is facing down and the lower trend line is facing down, then that is officially a falling wedge. So you want to check on that to make sure that it is going down. If you want to do that, you can take the trend angle tool. It's in the same spot as your line tool. And you basically just draw like this on the same spot that your line was drawn. And this will tell you that it's at a negative 11 degree decline. So that means that you have a falling wedge pattern because these are both negative numbers. Negative 62 degree and negative 11 degree. So that confirms the fact that this is a falling wedge. And in the falling wedge, again, that's sellers getting squeezed. So that means there was a lot of sellers at the top. There's less now than there was then. Like a lot less. Their energy is dying out. Yeah, Justin, their how to buy Ripple stuff was ridiculous. Literally, they started making that right when I was tweeting out that Ripple is a spot to be selling. Because like I tweeted out when Ripple was like at $3, and I was like, just a friendly reminder to take your profits on Ripple. And then CNBC was telling everybody else to buy. You can learn chart patterns on my website, Hero, highaltitudecrypto.io. Go check it out. There's also a coupon code in the description, active20 for 20% off if you're interested. But you can also learn these patterns by Googling, but you won't get all the information on how to apply them properly. But you just, Google falling wedge pattern or Google ascending triangle, and you'll get a diagram that explains the pattern, and you can start looking for them. But if you want more details on how to actually apply them, my course is a great spot on my website. Hey, thank you, Marshall. I appreciate that. Yeah, a lot of other people are super bearish right now, and that always happens, right, when you need to shake some people out and go up. So, yeah, it's just the same story every time. And, you know, it's not about predicting the exact bottoms or predicting the exact tops, but it's about being aware of these shakeouts and watching them happen and not trying to get your information from too many places. If you're ever worried about like where the markets are going and what you should do with your money, don't go to Google. Don't just hop on Google and be like, okay, I am wondering if Bitcoin's going to go up or down, or Bitcoin news. Or if you search those things, you're bound to do exactly what the crowd is doing, because the majority of people are wrong. The majority of people in trading are wrong, like consistently wrong. And what ends up happening is people will go to try to find information and they get the wrong information, or they go read a news article that's super bearish. And just because they don't know what to do with their money, they're scared, and so they go to Google. Do not do that. Buy a technical analyst book, or buy my course, or get some information, get some knowledge. There's tons of free information out there in the world. There's tons of places that you can get this type of stuff. I have so many free videos on here as well. If you're not ready to jump into the VIP, then you can go check out my free content and learn from that. But like, just give yourself some tools. If you can't get it on the level that you want to, then get a mentor. That's what my mastermind is mentorship every Saturday, and get in depth on this. But if it's so much better to have your own knowledge of what you should do with your money. It's so much more empowering than going to like Google to figure out what you should do, or going to Twitter to figure out what you should do. It's if you can make your own decisions, your own TA, and actually learn this stuff for yourself, not only will you make better decisions, you'll be more proud of them, and you're bound to avoid all of the FUD and all of the BS out there and all of the confusion, because you know the world is just full of a bunch of confused people telling other confused people what to do with their confused ideas. And that's like 90% of the world is just fog. And your job is to just tune out, find the good information, the good knowledge, and apply that and learn from it, and not worry about all that fog, that confusion, that bullshit, the stuff that's only going to slow you down, make you wonder about things longer than you need to, and distract you from your actual goals and your actual direction that you want to take it. So, you know, knowledge is power, and that's true in trading, and it's true in everything. So, Strat. Yes, let's go to Strat. So this one is definitely in one of the biggest depression dumps I have seen in a long time. This is just so classic market cycle to me. It's crazy. If you just grab the Wall Street cheat sheet, or you just Google what a market cycle looks like, and then you come look at all these crypto cycles, it's so flippin' easy to tell what's happening. So yeah, Stratus right now. This is in a huge downward channel. Like this. Well, actually, this is a bit of a wedge as well. Because these lows, yeah, this is actually a wedge. It's not a channel. Because these lows are at an angle in comparison to this. So you're squeezing. Okay. And then, so this high is at $10. This low is at $3. This high is back towards $8. And this low is going to be at $2.20. So there's a lot of shaking out that happened right here. Now, what's interesting here is all of these coins are doing the same thing. If you notice, you can draw another resistance line and another support line within the wedge itself, and you'll find a wedge within a wedge. And this secondary wedge is a squeeze of the last body of sellers, the last sell before the pump back up to at least $5, because you need to come back to the resistance of this consolidation range. And then we can decide whether we're going to go in like this, or what's more likely at that point, because you've already came up towards resistance with conviction and you've been oversold since January of this year, it's a lot more likely for this type of a coin to break out and then come back down like that and do a pattern along those lines rather than seeing further downside continuation. Because this is a squeeze. Remember, it's an oscillation. Market cycles are an oscillation. So if we look at what happened here, back in 2017, we have an oscillation up, we have an oscillation down, we have an oscillation up, we have an oscillation down, and what should we expect? An oscillation up. See, it's just that sine wave, again, when I was applying to Bitcoin at the beginning of all of this. And yes, I know somebody in the comments is going to say, why would you draw a big ass on your screen? That is not what we're doing here. We're drawing a sine wave, even though, yeah, that pattern is a little bit ridiculous. But you get the point. It's just shaking up and shaking down. So, yeah, so that looks really bullish to me too. Stratus, we need to go back up to the top of that consolidation range. Let's see. All right, so we will go over ONT. So yeah, when you're drawing TA on these coins, just have fun with it and allow yourself to look at it in a million different ways. Don't be like, okay, what's the one and only way to look at this? Just hop onto a certain coin and draw as many different conclusions that you can possibly get to, and then figure out based on what you know about market cycles and what you know about trading, and figure out what's the most likely to happen, right? Because there's a million ways to let's see, what's the word? What's an analogy I'm looking for? There's a million ways to skin a fish. I don't know. And so what you want to do is you just want to figure out what works for you, learn as much as you can about it, and then look at it in a lot of different ways and figure out what's the most likely based on all of that information. And that's kind of your job as a technical analyst. It's not figuring out the one thing that it has to do. It's figuring out all the things it can do and then betting your money on what you think it's going to. So this right here is another example of a falling wedge pattern forming on ONT. This is double bottoming right here. Inside of this falling wedge pattern, we can count an ABC correction wave. A, B, and C. So we've completed a sell-off. At the bottom of a C wave is the highest potential for gains. In the previous cycle, we had a nice bull flag right here. Or actually, that was a similar pattern. That's a similar fractal. That was a falling wedge. It wasn't a bull flag. And again, it's because this lower line is angled downward. And so it's doing the same thing that it did back here, just in a bigger looking edition of what happened. So this is expected to continue up to new highs. And according to the wave counts, we've already completed an ABC. This is a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up. And that's again how you do the ABC correction. See? And that's just applying Elliott wave theory to this chart so that you can break it down in a very predictable, simple fashion. But yeah, that one looks really good to me. I like the look of that wave. You're welcome, Justin. Hey, thanks, Troy. I appreciate you tuning in today. Still overbought on the weekly, Crypto Wolf? Let's check out the weekly. You do have to remember ONT is a really, really new coin. So we're only talking about like 2-3 months worth of data. So as far as like the MACD and the RSI, you might get a little bit of a distorted signal on that purely because of that. I do agree that ONT looks a little bit parabolic in its fashion, but that's also pretty indicative of a young market cycle that needs to go up a lot. So there's it being overbought on the weekly. I don't really see that. Let me switch to the daily. Maybe it's really oversold on the daily for both the RSI and the MACD. On the 4-day, we just don't have enough data really to get as to whether this is overbought or oversold because of how young this coin is in its chart. So that's just something to be mindful of with indicators, is sometimes you need like a few months at least, like 5-6 months of data before you get clear signals on the bigger time frames with those indicators. Hey, thanks, Darko. I appreciate you tuning in today. Yeah, I'm just like, trying to give my perspective. Again, I sit here and I do technical analysis pretty much every single day of my life. Like, I'll just come here and I'll look at these charts. I'll update my TA. I update my portfolio a couple times a week. I don't really do much like active trading, a little bit of stuff on leveraged exchanges, where I'll take some longs and short positions on the smaller time frames. But the most like active trading I do in my portfolio, my day trading portfolio, where I trade 2 to 3 month setups, that one I focus on adjusting numbers maybe twice a week maximum. Like I don't really shift things around too much, just because I understand the probability of all of these different waves. So I let them play their cycles out. I average in to the sell-offs, and then I average out of the greed, and I don't really actively trade that much. It's the bigger cycles are more profitable, because this is an example of a 2 to 3 month cycle. How I always talk, you've got a 2-month upswing and a 2-month downswing. So you're talking about a 4-month total oscillation pattern from the low to the high, where you oscillate up and then you oscillate down. Like I was saying earlier, that sine wave that we're talking about that happens over and over in these markets. So that's about 4 months of profit making, 2 months of profit longing and 2 months of profit shorting. This one specifically you can't really short, but I'm just saying those are the setups I focus on. So I only need to adjust my percentages a couple times a week maximum. In my shorter time frame trades, like on leveraged exchanges, I'll trade for a few days. Sometimes I'll have a long position I'll take out, maybe even a week. And then the shortest I've ever had a trade on is maybe for 3 hours. But I don't really sit here and do like 15-minute scalps and stuff like that, which some people do. I just have had a lot greater success with other methods of trading than that. So this is the types of plays that I like to play. These bull runs for a couple months, sell-offs for a couple months, time to get back in, So, all right, back to the live dashboard. Yeah, I'll go back to Bitcoin and comment at how it's breaking out right now. We mentioned this at the beginning of the stream, so you can always go back and watch that later. But yeah, so we are drawing this falling wedge pattern right here, and I was showing how we had a breakout of the falling wedge pattern, and your first target is these resistance levels, because you can measure the falling wedge pattern's height and apply it to the point in which it broke out of, which gives you a certain target range. So I was just projecting that we can get up to these levels again. And I mentioned how I'm not going to give exact targets because that's for my VIP members only. I have an updated post in my signals area for them, but for the free viewers, I will give you like a little piece of the puzzle, like a little chunk of the story, but not exactly the full story as to where it could go. So for my free viewers, we're expecting about 7,000 and above for our next little spot where you can expect Bitcoin to be hanging out at. And that's not a target. That's just, like I said, I've already dropped target information for my VIP, so I'm not going to give any of that, but I will give you that little peek around the corner kind of up to those levels. And that's just because of that falling wedge breakout and how oversold we are in the bigger time frames, especially on the daily. We are in a WXY correction. So this is a more advanced Elliott wave pattern, but you can Google this and learn more about it. But yeah, I'm actually teaching about this in my Mastermind VIP, which is basically mentorship with me. So it's live webinars every single Saturday where I mentor, and you can follow along with my exact trades. So I show, it's called the Mastermind Portfolio. I show exactly what percentages I have in each coin, and I show you my updates on each percentage so you can play these swings along with me. And this is actually what we're teaching about next, is the WXY correction pattern and how this applies to Bitcoin today. I'm not going to show you how to count all these subwaves because, again, that's content for those my mentorship program, the Mastermind, which there's information on my website about that as well. You can apply the coupon code in the description. But this correction pattern is different, which is why it confused a lot of people. And a lot of people thought, oh, no, we're going to go clear down to 3,000. Oh, no, we're going to go clear down to even 4,000. A lot of people were calling for 4,000 per coin. And like, they were just jumping the gun a little bit too early because we had a support failure. And they forgot that you can count this a lot of different ways, and this is subwave countable, so you can apply the subwaves to what's going on right now, and this works perfectly. This was just another way to look at it. So yeah, bullish, it's looking good. I'm expecting a nice little pump up for the next few weeks here. Again, back here, we could have made this triangle pattern. It wasn't out of the possibilities. Again, as a trader, you're looking at different possibilities. This triangle pattern could have played out, but it actually doesn't surprise me that it didn't play out because obviously a lot of people saw this pattern and a lot of people bought the dip with a tight stop loss right here. So it's not that big of a surprise that we make a new low and shake all those stop losses out and scare the hell out of a bunch of people before we go back up again. That's pretty indicative of a market to have a shakeout like that. So nothing to be scared of for sure. Yeah, the bullish price action is nice right now. And yes, I do trade stocks, marijuana stocks. Right now I actually have some holdings in cannabis stocks in the cannabis industry. It's booming in America, so that's something that you should really look into. And that's also stuff that I talk about in my mastermind. So if you want to get more detailed mentorship on investing in some stocks like that, I've been talking about that in my mastermind VIP for a while now because they are definitely really, really hot stocks to be holding right now. They're like super early cryptocurrency market cycle charts, but they just don't pump quite as quick as crypto. But it's still like you get huge percentages. They're easy to trade. So, looks really good. Hey, thanks, Justin. I try to kill it. Try to kill it in these streams. All right. Weed one wave into 5. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of upside potential in those. Lots of waves to come. All right. Can I explain the 1 month MACD for Bitcoin? Okay. You want to look at the MACD on the 1 month? Here is the MACD on the daily. Let me just remove the RSI right here. The MACD on the daily is in a very oversold range, and it's been curling at a super stupid low volatility zone right here. The histogram is next to zero volatility, which is actually a really bullish squeeze in momentum. And then if we go into the bigger picture, such as, oh yeah, actually let's check out the small picture right here, super quick. Just do some sacrilegious 1 minute candlestick viewing here. Now, if you're ever looking at the 1 minute candlesticks, don't get scared if the price is dropping, because these are very small swings in comparison to what's happening on the bigger time frame. So 1 minute can be kind of not good if you're new to this, just because it's very emotional to watch this chart go up really high and down really hard, really fast. So, you know, I would just be very cautious of that, not to be too emotionally attached to the direction of the price in the smaller time frame, because it's very volatile. But yeah, this is a little bull triangle right here on the 1 minute candlesticks as well. And do you see how jaggedy this is? This is why you can't really day trade. Good luck making sense of this movement on the 1 minute. People that trade 15-minute scalps and stuff, if you're good at it, if you're really good at it and you know how to do it right, I respect that. But I'm just saying that as a beginner, I do not recommend at all trying to trade these 1 minute candlesticks or 5 minute candlesticks, because you will go insane trying to predict all those little moves, because it's not really predictable. There's bots trading all those small time frames, so you'd have to fight against algorithms that are smarter than you. But yeah, so now let's go back into the monthly and talk about the MACD on the monthly. And then we'll call it a podcast, because got about an hour of good solid footage here. All right, so the monthly MACD for Bitcoin is doing a bearish momentum cross on the histogram, but the momentum on the momentum on the lines is still bullish. So this green line is pushing up through the black line, and it would not surprise me if we see a continuation in the lines even though the histogram shifts, because that happens a lot where you have lines come up and continuate even when the histogram is doing a bearish shift, and then when the histogram is at the bottom of its bearish shift right here, that's when these lines finally line up with the momentum of the histogram, and they both flip like this, which usually causes a pretty intense sell-off. So although initially the monthly histogram for Bitcoin, you could have an argument as to that causing a sell-off or causing panic, I really don't think that it will, due to the fact that often you have an extension of the lines during the flip of the histogram before the momentum actually affects the price. So again, it's a lagging indicator, so you can't expect that cross on the monthly to be an instant sell signal for your crypto. Because on the weekly candlesticks, you can see how this has already happened. You have the MACD cross, the flip, and we're oversold again. So we're oversold on the weekly MACD. On the 2-week MACD, this is a prime example of it becoming oversold and becoming a point where the pink histogram could flip and bring the momentum back on the upside, because those lines are falling back onto the center of the histogram. And then on the 2-day MACD, you're making higher lows, while the price is making lower lows. So that's called bullish divergence. When price is making new lows, but the MACD, or the momentum indicator, so this indicates the momentum of the market, this thing in the bottom here, if you're new to this, is bullish divergence, making higher highs. So yeah, don't let the monthly MACD scare you. Don't don't panic sell because of that. It's just one little aspect of an indicator. Use indicators in all time frames to get the best picture of what's actually going on. Although the bigger time frames give stronger signals, they also can give earlier false signals because they are so big that you might be seeing something that could happen down the road, even though it's not going to bring into effect right now. So, just utilize time frames, be aware of time frames in all kind of perspectives, and take them for what they're worth. Don't take it as an instant reason to sell or buy your crypto. Just use it as an additional kind of tool bag for what's going on in all perspectives of price and chart patterns, and then in other time frames for that indicator as well. So, yeah, this looks really good, you guys. This looks really freaking good. So, but yeah, go check out my website if you want to learn more of this stuff detailed. You can also go ahead and watch my video. I'm working on doing giveaways, probably for follows and retweets on my Twitter. I don't have it all the way set up yet, but I want to hype that for a second because there'll probably be, $100 giveaways, maybe a couple $100 giveaways in Bitcoin, and they'll just be free on my Twitter. So you just go follow me and retweet. So that's coming down the road. Follow me on Twitter at highaltitudeinv. High Altitude INV. Hit that like button if you enjoyed or learned something in this video. Hit that subscribe button if you want me to make more videos down the road so that you can keep updated with my new uploads. Click this play video right here on the website if you want to check out my little ad and my story. Here is the VIP information. There is promotion codes in the description. So if you want to go ahead and check those promotions out, you can get huge discounts on all of my VIP information, which will give you more detailed technical skills to really put under your tool bag and to apply to the market so that you're not confused and so that you're making good investing decisions. That's why I do this. I love doing this. I have a passion for doing it. I used to have some serious problems in my life, I would say. I was pretty much homeless. Not really. I was living in a shack outside my parents' house because they didn't want me living with them and they wanted me to get a job, and I was pretty scared, and this was all back when I was 19 years old and just worried about where I could go and what I could do with my life. And I knew about Bitcoin, I knew about crypto, and I'd been learning all of this stuff, but I just kind of had a moment where I decided that my YouTube channel was what I needed to do with my life, and what I need to do every day, and truly, apply this and learn from this and get what I can from this and see if I can do this. So my dad would continue to tell me to get a job, and I did try for a little bit, but I just could not for the life of me. So he kept telling me to, and I just told him you know what, no, I'm not I'm not doing that. I'm going to do what's right for me, and I'm going to figure this out for myself. And that's when I started my YouTube channel. The second that I told myself that, and I stuck true to myself, even though even my own parents, and I love them, but it was just a difference in perspective. Not a bad thing, it was just a difference in perspective. A lot of people were telling me to do opposite of what I knew I wanted to do for myself. So I did what I knew I wanted to do for myself. And I focused on myself, and I worked on that. And the second that I did that, it was literally a week later, my channel went from 300 subscribers to 1,000. And then from 1,000 subscribers 2 weeks later to 2. And then Bitcoin hit $1,000, and everything lined perfectly up for me to make this, a thing for myself. And that's, my channel is just created to educate you guys so that you can trade and you can make this a thing for you guys as well, and make money doing this, and not get caught in the market cycles, and make smart investing decisions. So that's why I do it. I love it. It's my passion. I've been doing it all consistently through 2017, and I even uploaded in 2016, even though nobody really watched me at the time. And I love doing what I'm doing, and I just want to help bring this to the world so that you guys can do it as well. So thank you all so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate every viewer. Again, hit that like, and I will see you guys next week. As always, stay profitable out there.